4 o'clock on a Monday. You know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi TV Live. Yeah, baby, haven't lost my touch. Still got that timing down. Hello, everybody. Good to see all of you. I am back. I am live. And hopefully we are broadcasting. I'm going to go double check right now. Where did it go? Make sure that we are out there. And there we are. Excellent connection, it says. Yay. All right. So today we're doing an episode of Ask Michael Anything. I haven't done one of these in a while. I was a little worried because last time I didn't get great questions. This time we did get a lot of great questions. So thank you, Dean Turner. Appreciate the welcome back. It's good to be back and see you guys. I missed doing the live ones, although it was kind of fun and challenging in an odd way getting all the pre-records ready before I left town. Okay, so in the email I sent out, I've covered some of these that are listed in this email because we recycled most of an old email because I was on an airplane and didn't have time to write a new one. Sorry. Hey, Andre. Anyway, so I'm going to just burn through these ones that were in the email because, like I said, I've answered them before, but not all of them. So first one was, want to know what production... Oh, you know what else? I wanted to start the show by saying that I've said this before on Taxi TV, that many years ago, my wife and I were watching the news or changing channels, and there was a shot of a guy standing on his rooftop. I want to say it was like Alabama or Mississippi, somewhere in the deep south, and the town had just been flooded out. And I looked at the guy standing on his roof and a helicopter hovering over him, waiting to rescue him, and I said something to my wife like, poor dude, and then changed the channel. And then when we had the fires in LA, I realized when it's in your own backyard, it takes on a level of seriousness that you don't realize when you see it on a TV screen and you're not there experiencing it firsthand. So just want to say to the people in Texas who are affected by the flooding there over the weekend that I didn't change the channel this time. My heart goes out to you, and especially horrifying. Think about all those young ladies at that camp that are seemingly have perished. So anyway, donate money to the Red Cross, somebody legitimate that's got low overhead where the money actually goes to the people who need it for food, shelter, and what have you. Anyway, okay, on with the show. Want to know what production music libraries are looking for? I can tell you. Yes, they are looking for usable music. They are not looking for hit songs. I think that this is the single biggest misconception about sync is if I write a great song, they'll use it. Well, of course they want a great song, but you could have the greatest song in the world, and if it doesn't elevate the mood or the emotion in a scene, or it doesn't make the action bigger, more bombastic or something, then they can't use it. Doesn't matter if you've written the best song of Paul McCartney or the Eagles, some of the great songwriting people of that era wrote songs, they wouldn't get used unless they work in the scene. So that's what production music libraries are looking for, is music that has the most possible uses, because they make money and you make equal money when they get people to license it. And the more usable it is, the more licensable it is. So it doesn't matter if you wrote a hit or have the greatest song in the world. You could have I always say you could have a B+ song that will get picked over an A+ song if the B+ song is better in the scene for accomplishing that goal of elevating the mood. Okay. Want to know why Hollywood studios won't use you to score their blockbuster films. I was just talking to somebody about this on the airplane on Friday. The reason... I'm going to tell a story. I've told the story before, but for those of you who are new and haven't heard it, here we go. 10, 15 years ago, I had a good friend named Harry Garfield. He was like executive vice president of music at Universal Pictures. I heard a new young composer that absolutely blew me away. I picked up the phone and I called Harry and said, got to bring this kid over. You got to hear what he's doing. He is literally Hans Zimmer good. Harry says, great, have him score a couple of scenes from movies that I've worked on. One of them was a remake of King Kong. I can't remember. The other one was another blockbuster. And Hans Zimmer had scored one of them, and I don't know, one of the other famous composers did the other one. The kid did an amazing job on both scenes. My friend Harry Garfield watched them both. He said, you did better than Hans on that scene and equally as good as whoever the other famous composer is on that other scene. Michael, tell him why I can't use him to score my films. So thanks, Harry, for putting me on the spot. And the truth of the matter is, when they go out and raise money to get a film made, they need the biggest brand name actors they can get, the biggest brand name director they can get, the biggest producers they can get, the biggest director of photography. So that's what the investors want. They know that with every brand name person, including the composer, if you've got tried and true sitting in every one of those seats, the probability of that film being a success and them making a really good return on their investment goes way up. So they're not going to take a chance on a new composer, especially somebody that hasn't conducted a orchestra live before, somebody who's not used to conducting live to picture on a sound stage or on a big studio stage. Somebody who hasn't had the experience of like rewriting a line in the middle of that session. Just all those things go into the mix of why they want to work with a seasoned and experienced pro. So the best way to become, and this is what my friend Harry Garfield told that young composer, is everybody starts out doing indie films. Sometimes they do them for free. Sometimes they do student films. Sometimes they might score an entire film for $2,000 when they should have been paid $20,000. But it's the experience, and then you get the work product that you can add to say, look, I did this, and this is how it sounds. And you go through years of that until you build up a reputation, and sooner or later you're working as like the number two composer working under somebody like Hans. You're Hans's assistant or apprentice, and Hans can't finish a scene and you get the job, and then the people working on that film really liked working with you, and a year later they're working on a lower budget film and they know they can't afford Hans for that, so they reach out to you knowing that the quality is there. So there you go. That's how you break into becoming a composer for Hollywood blockbuster films. Want to know why your mixes don't sound like hit records? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Shouldn't be a secret by now, but if it is, the secret is don't over... the less stuff you put in the track, the better chance you have of it sounding like a record. It's that simple. I've repeated my father's quote to me a million years ago, which is, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that means just because that part you go, oh, that'll work. Oh, yeah, we could add one of those, or we could do this, we could do that. Leave it alone. Simpler is almost always better. And it's so much easier to mix something with less stuff because all those different things aren't competing to be heard with each other. So the less tracks, the better. Even if you have great ideas and the ideas you have would work, could work, should work, don't do them. Sorry, I've got to make it cooler in here. It's like 95 degrees outside today. Want to know where the sweet spot is to place a mic on an acoustic guitar? The best way to find it is to have somebody else play the guitar, play the part that you're going to record, get down on your knees in front of that guitar, and physically move your ear around until it sounds really good. And when it sounds good, notice where you are in relation to the guitar, and that's where you put the microphone. I mean, people talk about this fret or that fret or above the hole or below the hole. just move your ear around. Thankfully, acoustic guitars aren't that loud that you're going to destroy your ears in the process. Don't do it with a guitar amp. But it really works great. Andre, who I know is one of my all-time favorite experts on all things guitar. Nylon and steel strings are different because generally they're playing very different kinds of music. If you're doing strummy, like country rock on an acoustic guitar, you'd want one sound. If you're doing Joe Beam on a nylon string guitar, you'd want a different sound. And in most cases, people love to do stereo miking on acoustic guitar. I can't think of a pro engineer that I ever met that thought that was a great idea, because unless the guitar is alone, you're not going to hear the stereo spread. You're inviting all kinds of phase issues. Now, if you were recording Joe Beam, and it's just him and his guitar, he's not even alive anymore, is he? I'm not sure. Andre will know. If it's just, a solo guitar, go for stereo, but make sure that you don't have phase issues. Press the mono button, listen in mono, see if you lose a lot of key frequencies. If you do, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Want to know how to mic an electric guitar amp for the best sound? This one's so easy, so easy. I have seen so many engineers that, I don't know why, but I'm looking for something that replicates a speaker cone. I don't have one. People will go for the outer edges of the speaker cone. I've seen people like on a 212 arrangement, a cabinet with two 12-inch speakers, where they'll stick a mic 8 inches out from the cabinet, dead center between the two 12-inch drivers. No. Actually, I can't think of a case where the mic didn't sound better, and I've got extensive experience miking electric guitar amps. Point it right at the cone. Right at the coil, at the voice coil. Go dead center on the speaker. Don't go for the edges. It doesn't sound as good. I can't say that it sounds more trebly out there or whatever. I could just tell you that it sounds richer, fuller, and has a better frequency range if you point it right at the voice coil. Doesn't matter if you're using like a 57, a dynamic mic, or an 87, a cardioid condenser. Typically, on something like a 57, I would put the mic right up, like 1/4 inch out from the grill cloth, pointing right at the voice coil. And then if you might want to have some room, take an 87 or a 414 or whatever. It almost doesn't matter, and put it like 3 feet out or 6 feet out from the amp. Raise it up kind of high. It's hard to do. Raise it up kind of high, angle it like this so it's looking down and out at the amp, and you pick up some of the room. You could put the mic in a figure 8 configuration if it has one. You could do it in Omni and pick up the entire room. Just experiment, but don't blend both mics to one track while you're recording, because you may change your mind later. You may also have phase issues, so there are all those things to work on. Let's see. Oh, a surefire way to avoid popping peas when recording vocals. I've got to go grab a prop. I'll be right back. Okay. Let's see if I can get this out of here. Maybe not. There we go. Okay. So the best way to I'm surprised everybody in the world doesn't know this, but I don't think they do. If you put the microphone here and sing pop, pop, plosive, plosive, it's blowing right onto the voice coil. So the rule of thumb with microphones, just so you know, when doing vocals, is start here. Take your hand, go like that, and that's a good starting point. Usually it works pretty well. Obviously, if you're doing screaming rock and roll, you might want to use a dynamic mic and get this close to it. But for the most part, for normal vocals in studio, this is about right. So what I used to do is take my mic and have it up there, but then put a second mic down here and tell the vocalist that I was using two mics to see which one sounds best. I would record the two things on separate tracks. But this mic, because it's up there, is still the same distance, but the plosives are going out there, so they're missing the capsule on the mic. So there you go. Down and dirty, works great every time. Let's see. Want to know how to make publishers reach out to you time and time again? I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. Don't be a pain in the ass. Don't ask them a million questions that they don't have time to answer. Don't argue with them. Exceed expectations and beat deadlines. If you do those simple things, you will be somebody that they know that they can rely on. And if they tell you, if by chance you get a music library owner that sends you a brief, can you make me this kind of track? Sure, I can. And then you send them something that's not really what that track was supposed to be, and you go, I started out working on that West Coast hip-hop track, but things just kind of fell into place and morphed a little bit, and I got this new track. It's awesome. You're going to love it. They're not going to love it. They're going to be very upset with you for not giving them what they wanted because they're relying on you. And now they know they can't rely on you, so they're not going to call you time and time again. Sorry. Loud on the paper. Want to know how to approach industry pros at Taxi's convention, the Road Rally. It's coming up November 5th through the 9th, I believe, this year here in Los Angeles. It is a legendary event, and I would say that it's a fair statement at this point to say that take all the thousands of Taxi members that have gotten deals and had placements and built careers through Taxi, and there are thousands of them, that probably half of them at this point got there because they went to the Road Rally and they networked. Even the shyest people you've ever met that didn't want to come to the Road Rally, and I begged and I pleaded and cajoled and twisted their arms, and they came and they ended up loving it because it's such a warm and welcoming environment with like-minded people. But the best way to meet somebody, November 6th through the 10th, and yes, registration is already open, but you have to be a Taxi member to get your 2 free tickets. Don't walk up to people in the industry and go, here's my record. Whoops, got a green label on it. Look, see-through. Anyway, don't walk up and shove, obviously this is a coaster, but don't shove it in their face. Walk up to them. Don't approach quickly. Don't make it like you're a World War II fighter plane coming in for the kill. Walk up to them casually when you see them at the bar or getting in the elevator, and just say, I just saw you on the panel about a half an hour ago, and that thing you said about this was great. And they will love the fact that you're talking about them. And then hit them up with a follow-up question. It's like, how did you get your start as a music supervisor? What did you do before that? Where did you grow up? And everybody loves to talk about him or herself. And then at some point they're going to say, and what about you? And don't try and tell them that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I do this genre, that genre, the other genre. Blah, 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 blah. That will immediately identify you as a rookie. You're trying too hard. Think of the best 2, maybe 3 genres that you do. If you've had some success getting signed to other libraries or had placements in shows, name 1 or 2 of those. Oh, I've got stuff in this library and that library. I've also had placements on these 3 shows. They immediately know you're good enough for somebody to sign some of your music and for a music supervisor to pick it for a placement. Now you've got their attention, you've earned their respect, and that's how it's done. Let's see, want to know how to avoid headphone leakage. I always forget to bring my prop for this one, but we all know the drill. Just happen to have some headphones right here. Actually, I've got more headphones here than I probably should. So we all know this is how singers sing, so that they can hear him or herself in the room. But unfortunately, a lot of times, because it's pressed into a big blob of hair or whatever, you get leakage out of there. First of all, don't use open back headphones for doing vocals. Bad idea, no matter how good they sound. But cut out a piece of neoprene, like you would find in a wetsuit. Not regular foam rubber, but actual neoprene that's like 3/8 of an inch thick. Cut it out so it perfectly fits in there and just shove it in there. You might need 2 layers of it, but now you've blocked that sound. So when you're listening to this one, but you've got that one on the back, you're not going to get that leakage. And, most of the time that leakage isn't fatal, but if you pull up a track in solo, you'll hear it. It'll add top end that you may not want in there. It could cause some sort of, almost sounds like a phasing issue. If the vocalist turns his or her head while they're singing, you might hear treble, not treble, treble, not treble. So anyway, a simple piece of neoprene solves that problem. Won't even cost you $1. Just go to any beach where there's surfers and wait for them to go get a coffee or a beer and just like cut a little piece out of their wetsuit and they run like hell. I'm kidding. Let's see. Okay. So now I'm going to get into some questions. Got a lot of good questions this time. Here's one from Tim Braun. I write songs, lyrics only, and then use AI for the music and the vocals to show the possibilities of the lyrics. I am only selling the lyrics, not the music nor the vocals, but you don't, meaning Taxi doesn't allow this. The industry doesn't really allow it. It's not just Taxi. My song's lyrics have captured thousands of listeners and subscribers on YouTube, with many saying they love the songs. Why don't you have a category for songwriters who use AI for the music and the vocals, but are only selling the lyrics? Because you don't actually sell lyrics in the music industry. You collaborate with somebody, you co-write with them, but nobody says, I'm going to give you $2,000 for that lyric. That's just not the way the industry works. So, having some sort of mechanism within Taxi for you to sell lyrics, there's nobody that's looking to buy lyrics. So I'm sorry, but the best thing you could do, honestly, if you decide to join Taxi, is go on the Taxi forums at forums.taxi.com and network with people and say, hey, I write lyrics. Because there are a lot of people out there that do a great job of writing the instrumental tracks and producing those tracks, but can't write a lyric to save their life. So collaborate, become 50-50 partners. That's how it's done. This one's from Larry Rifkin. Why does the same, we've been asked this one 1,000 times, why does the same song get a hard pass from one screener and a forward from another when the category entered into is not mentioned as a key factor? I'd have to have a little more information, but it's entirely possible that you get something forwarded by one screener and not by another screener. 80% of the time, I've said this a gazillion times, 80% of the time, music that doesn't get forwarded by Taxi the reason is because it just doesn't fit the brief. If you go into a restaurant and you order salmon, it doesn't matter if they bring you the best steak in the world. You ordered the salmon. Salmon is what you want. The salmon is what you need. So same thing is true of the music industry. If they need this, if the brief asks for this, it could very well be in the same genre, but there are nuances within the genres that the listings separate. You'd be very hard-pressed to find 2 Taxi listings in any reasonable amount of time, 90 days, 6 months, a year, whatever, that are virtually identical. They might both be country requests with female vocals, could be country rock with female vocals, but there are going to be other things that make them different. So that's my guess as to the reason one screener would forward something and the other screener wouldn't. What is a prototypical screener? I don't know if there's such a thing as a prototypical screener. How are they assigned? That's a great follow-up question. General ages, since we all have certain musical DNA given what we grew up listening to. Admittedly, this is coming from an aged songwriter. Well, I'm pretty aged myself, so you have my sympathy. You know, people want to believe, it's almost reflexive, that the screener didn't get me. The screener didn't get the song. It's the screener's fault. First of all, it's much easier for them to forward something than not, because all they have to do is write, "Great job, Bob," click the forward button, versus sitting down and actually thinking, why does this not work, and how can I describe that very succinctly and in a helpful way for this member. So it's just easier to forward, but they don't forward when they can't or shouldn't. Prototypical screener, I can guarantee you that every single piece of music you send to Taxi is screened by somebody who is truly expert in that genre. And I'm going to use an example I've used a multitude of times in the past, which is we have different country screeners for film and TV country than we do for country for records. And the reason is a country song on Music Row in Nashville has to have what they call furniture in the room, a lot of visual details. I walked into the smoky bar, the peanut shells were crunching under my boots, the room smelled like stale beer, and then I saw her sparkly blue eyes from across the room. So all those are little details, paints a picture, makes a little movie in your head. But the problem is you can't use that in a movie because the bar could be some swanky modern club with a mirror ball or whatever, no peanut shells on the floor. And maybe the girl's got beautiful coffee-colored skin, brown hair, and brown eyes. So if it said blue eyes and lyric, can't use it. So we have people, virtually all the country music that gets screened for records and for artists in Nashville. That goes through Taxi. Almost all of it, if not entirely all of it, is screened by, I believe, 3 or 4 screeners that we use in Nashville that are publishers with incredible track records. Sometimes they have a slow year. They haven't had a cut for a year. And they want to keep their ears active and see what else is new out there, maybe make a little extra money in the process. So either they might screen it, him or herself. Sometimes they have somebody on their staff that's like their trusted assistant that nothing gets to them without going through that person's ears. So sometimes they'll have that person screen it. But they've all been trained in the Taxi screening process. So we don't just go randomly, like walk down Music Row, go, hey, you want to be a Taxi screener, and then just turn them loose. And now for film and TV, we have people that are expert in country music for film and TV because they understand that it still has to have countrified emotions and basic themes, family values. I'm going to get grief for this, but pickup trucks, Daisy Duke, 6-pack of beer, fishing hole, that kind of stuff. It's all cliche, obviously, and nobody seems to want that anymore. But that general country vibe, but without the specific furniture in the room. So we go that far to have different country screeners for different country music applications. And the same thing holds true for all of our other screeners. We don't put people who are expert on hip-hop on singer-songwriter stuff unless it happens to be somebody who does 3 genres and 2 of them are hip-hop and singer-songwriters. So just know that anytime a Taxi screener hears your music, that person is super well qualified. We monitor their work. We have a head screener that checks to make sure that their feedback to you guys is high quality, and to make sure that catch little things like sometimes they mean to forward something and they hit the return button, or vice versa. So just quality assurance is the last step before you get the news one way or the other. General ages of screeners, since we all have certain musical DNA, what we grew up with. Musical DNA doesn't really come into play because the screeners aren't listening for what they like. They could love something. I used to screen the first few years of Taxi. I screened a lot. There were plenty of times I heard something that I absolutely loved. I probably picked up the phone and called the members, say, man, I love this. Do you mind if I burn myself a CD and play it in my car? I know other screeners have certainly done that with permission. But the thing is, their love for a song doesn't mean anything to the person who needs it for a TV show or movie or whatever. Because it's not about the screener's personal taste. The screener is a professional who has to judge that piece of music on 2 criteria. Number 1, is it good enough that I could play it for somebody in the industry with pride? Okay, and if you're over that quality bar, the only other thing you got to do is nail what the brief asked for, what the listing asked for. It's that simple. So musical DNA, age, and the screeners range in age from probably, I'm guessing the youngest screener's probably late 20s, and the oldest screener's probably 70. And if we could, I don't think we do, but we could have a screener who's 68 years old who happens to be a world-class expert on West Coast hip-hop. We could have a 28-year-old screener that is a world-class expert on classic rock. So age really doesn't matter. And we query them when they want to be a screener here as to which are the genres you feel strongest in. We put them on listings. We test them. The head screener looks at the result of their work. And when they do the test, they use real taxi member material, but the results don't stick. In other words, it's like a test drive. So stuff goes back in the bucket for when the real listing is actually screened. And then when they start screening for us, the head screener pays particularly close attention to the quality of the work they're doing to make sure that they're well in the saddle, in the groove, as it were. We do a lot to make sure that you guys get the best possible chance and the best feedback that we can provide to you. Here's one from Nancy Simone. My question pertains to taxi briefs for songs with lyrics in Italian and French. Does the taxi screener know these languages well enough to detect when the singer's French or Italian pronunciation is not correct, or is the language pronunciation element that the client library assesses? Gonna be completely honest, because that's the way we roll around here. I think the number of times that anybody in the industry would judge an Italian or French or German or even Spanish lyric based on did they use the right tense, the right verb, the right pronunciation of that word, they don't care. They wouldn't know the difference, and in the vast majority of cases, they just don't care. Does it sound like something you would hear walking down a cobblestone street, in Milan, Italy at 10 o'clock at night? Does it sound authentic to that vibe? Yeah. Now, if it were an Italian filmmaker, they're going to know the difference, okay? If the music supervisor happens to be Italian and working on an Italian film, they would know the difference. Most of the time, the library owner's not going to know unless they're, Italian and grew up and took Italian in high school or something or lived in Italy. They don't care. The question that a music library owner is going to ask him or herself is, do I have clients that might license this piece of music to use in a travelogue show where they show somebody riding a bike on a long and windy road on the Amalfi Coast and you hear the music come up a little bit for 12 seconds? So, no. The answer, to be quite honest with you, Nancy, is nobody knows. And there are going to be so few times when it really matters that I wouldn't worry about it. Whoa. You could be really funny and do a whole thing where you do an Italian accent, just make up words. No, I'm not suggesting that you do that. And here we go. Here's one from Billy Horton. I'm brand new to the songwriting industry. What's the very first step I should take to start getting my songs into the ears of talented people? The very first step is to spend time crafting great songs. For some reason, people don't look at the intersection of art and commerce quite the same way that they look at, or I should say, being successful at the intersection of art and commerce, whether it's painting maybe or writing poetry or a book or a movie script or a TV show pilot or a song. The same way they would look at somebody becoming a Hall of Fame baseball player or a PGA tournament winning golfer. Those people, you look at and go, oh man, I bet he spent 20 years developing that swing. And you'd be right. But yet people think, I'm born with this innate God-given talent and my music is great. The people that are writing hit songs took years to get there. Years of constantly working, years of rejection, years of changing course and adjusting what they do to fit the market while still remaining true to his or her style of songwriting. So it's the very first step is just learning how to write great songs. I would recommend buying Robin Frederick's seminal book. I'm the publisher of it, and yes, I do make like $1.78 if you buy one. But I would also refund your money if you didn't think that book was. I think it's on sale right now, maybe on Amazon. Shortcuts to Hit Songwriting by Robin Frederick. Not secrets, Marion. Shortcuts. Anyway. People love that book. I'm so proud to be the publisher of it. Robin wrote, God knows how many years ago, wrote 3 chapters, and my daughter wrote a song. She was like 9 and came in our bedroom and sang the song. I said, did you write that? And she goes, yeah. And I said, how'd you do that? She goes, the 3 chapters of that lady's songwriting book that you had sitting on your nightstand? I took them, I read it, and I wrote a song. Anyway, brand new to the songwriting industry is like I'm brand new to being an NFL quarterback. Go out in the backyard, throw 100 passes every night when you get home from work. Same thing with songwriting. Just work at it. The chances of you being born a genius, not that great. Songwriting genius, might be really smart otherwise. Okay, let's move on to some other questions. Here's one from Robbie Neufeld. Can you share a success story? Ooh, I forgot to pull out this document, but I think I can find it quickly. Can you share a success story of a taxi member who broke into sync licensing, and what specific strategies or actions helped them land their first major placement? I think most people would tell you it's not about major placements. It oftentimes can be as or probably more profitable to get a bunch of little placements, believe it or not, because they're just easier to get. So there you go. Let's see, what's this guy's name? No, not there. If I can't find this. Gary Schaefer email. Here we go. Okay, I'm just going to read you this email. This came in April 22nd. Dear Michael, I just renewed my taxi membership today, and since I'm a former marketing guy, I thought you might want to know why. Because people know that I love reading marketing books. I find them fascinating and informative. 4 years ago, when I first learned to sync licensing through a songwriters association, about 4 years ago I did. At that time, my understanding of the industry was minimal. It seemed all I had to do was send songs I'd already written to a few libraries, and I would be cashing in. Not true. And I'm reading this word for word, folks, just so you know. Let's see. While some of your members might find early success, my taxi experience resembled the following. Year 1, damn you, taxi, if you send me one more return, I'm out of here. P.S. Your screeners don't know what they are talking about. Year number 2, maybe instead of deleting those returns, I should read the reviewer's notes repeatedly. And hey, what's this thing called the Forwards blog? Liz, if you would pop the link to the Forwards blog in the chat, please. I'll check it out, but I'm much too busy to be checking in on all these forums. Oh, and please stop sending me emails about the Taxi Road Rally, whatever that is. It's our convention. Year number 3. Fine, you want me to write to briefs? I'll write to briefs. In fact, I'll do you one better. I'll go over the briefs with a fine-tooth comb, and I'll deconstruct those references till I know them inside and out. Where'd I learn to do these things? In the taxi forums. Oh, and by the way, you'll be happy to know that I attended this thing you call the Road Rally, and well, to be honest, yeah, I guess it was helpful. People? Yeah, I met some really nice. I'm sorry, I inserted the word really. I met some really nice people. Shit. I said really again. Anyway, you get the idea. He met some nice people. Smart and talented, too. And if I'm being honest, they're also very generous with their time and knowledge. And I was wondering, is it too early to sign up for next year's road rally? No, it's not. As a matter of fact, we just opened registration a few days ago, so you can go to taxi.com/rally, and if you are a member, you can register for this year's road rally. People that have been there would tell you it is awesome, it's life-changing, and even the most skeptical, cynical people that come go home floating on wings of delight. They learn so much, they meet so many people, deals do happen, relationships are built, all that stuff. Year number 4. I've learned so much, but there's so much more I need to do. That said, I have songs in several libraries, and I'm currently working on sync albums for 2 others. Excluding major holidays and birthdays, the Road Rally is the red letter day of my calendar, recently surpassing my fantasy football draft. Best of all, I'm having fun, which leads me to one final thought. While my goal is to get more and more placements, I realized the other day that the whole taxi experience is so much more than just forwards and deals. It's about self-fulfillment. You give me a reason to create, and as one of your guests on Taxi TV said, yes, I watch that too, and so are you guys, thank you. The deadlines actually help us get stuff done. For all of that, I thank you, your staff, and all of my amazing taxi colleagues. P.S. It seems like you finally hired better screeners. My songs get forwarded now. And that was from Gary Schaefer. Gary, I can't thank you enough for sending that. So there's a success story. Is Gary like making a 6-figure income yet? No, he's not. But that's kind of the classic arc and progression of people. Again, you got to go out and hit golf balls 6 days a week at the range for years to get a good enough swing to go out on the tour, right? So Gary was cynical and skeptical at first. Then he took the edge off in year number 2. Year number 3, started realizing we were telling the truth about there is a way that we can almost guarantee your success, but you have to do what we tell you, because everybody wants a shortcut. I get it. Crap, if I could be a pro on the PGA Tour by just okay, for the next 4 weekends, I'm going to go out and hit the ball 6 hours a day on the range, and then I'm going to go out and get on the tour. See, it sounds stupid, right? But people don't think that way about artistic endeavors. Where did I go? Okay, so I got that one covered. Moving on. How am I doing on time? I'm halfway there. This one is from Debbie Reardon. Debbie Reardon. How can I effectively repurpose my existing catalog for sync opportunities, especially if my songs weren't originally written with film and TV in mind? That's a great question. Really good question. I'm going to repeat it. How can I effectively repurpose my existing catalog for sync opportunities, especially if my songs weren't originally written with film and TV in mind? It's tough. To be honest with you, we always tell Taxi members, you are going to be so much more successful by forgetting that catalog in most cases. No, all cases. Forget that catalog. Write to the briefs. Write what they are asking you for. Don't take something that you recorded 4 years ago or 14 years ago or 24 years ago or 44 years ago and repurpose it. It's never going to be right for what they want. Yeah, I used the analogy of me working in a shoe store for a summer when I was 14, 15 years old. And somebody came in and asked for a size 7.5B ladies pump with a 3.5-inch heel in beige, and I brought out a Basswegian loafer for a dude, and it was size 9.5D. They're both great shoes, but that Basswegian loafer is not what that lady asked for, and she just can't use it. So having old music and repurposing it, the shoe ain't gonna fit. But that said, we do work with several companies that look for vintage music. So if the music you're going to repurpose was done in the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, or 40s, don't repurpose it, but look for the taxi listings where they're asking for vintage music. We have had so many taxi members get great placements. Now, it may not be as active a genre as, dramedy cues, for instance, or tension cues, simple stuff like that. But some people want vintage music, and not stuff that sounds like it's vintage, but actually was recorded in 1975. It's got a sound, it's got a vibe, it's got a different approach to vocals, it's got a different bass sound, it's got different chord progressions, it's got different style melodies. All these things add up to giving it a lot of authenticity. And so the companies that specialize in that really want the real deal, not something that is a really good imitation. Man, it must be really hot outside today. Come on. Cool, baby, cool. All right. This one's from David Shaley. What are the most effective ways to pitch my music directly to music libraries, and how can I ensure my catalog aligns with their specific needs or niches? You would think, as the owner of Taxi, I would tell you, oh no, you can't pitch directly to music libraries. You can. Taxi was created for people that would rather spend their time making music and ultimately making income from it than spending their time researching libraries. Because you could go online and say, give me a list of all the production music libraries. How about some phone numbers, email addresses? You don't know who within that company is the right person to email, first of all. Second of all, you don't know what their client base is, because different libraries have different genres, different styles of music based on what their clients see. Their clients are TV shows, films, obviously, commercials. But you could have something that's an amazingly usable piece of music, and 5 different libraries would give you maybe 5 different responses as to whether or not they needed it, because library 1 doesn't use music with vocals. So that one's out. Library number 2, yes, they sign songs, but they primarily work on stuff for TV commercials, and your music is kind of mopey, dreary, self-reflective, indie vocal, singer-songwriter stuff. That's not going to work in a TV commercial, except for extremely rare instances. Maybe some sort of pharmaceutical commercial for antidepressants or something. I don't know. Anyway, most of the time TV commercials want, I'm having a great day kind of music, bouncy, emotionally uplifting, up-tempo stuff. Library number 3 might primarily work on reality TV shows, and on rare occasions they'll get a song placed on a big TV drama or something. So maybe that one's to be considered, but the odds aren't great if you're doing songs because they don't get that many placements for songs. Library 2 might get stuff, a lot of songs used, but they're almost all with an international flavor. We get a lot lately, in the last couple of years, a lot more requests for songs with Middle Eastern flavor or French flavor, Italian flavor. And when I say flavor, I mean, a little salt and pepper, not... Again, think of somebody walking into a market in Cairo, Egypt, camels outside and guys playing ouds. Is that how you say, what's the plural of an oud? Is ouds? I don't know. So, yeah, maybe Library 2 is good for you, but if you don't have stuff that's got a little, foreign flavor to it, and it could be like, an up-tempo, beat-driven American pop song, but with some sort of Middle Eastern instrument on it, that could probably work. And then there's library, the last library. I don't remember if I'm going from 5 to 1 or 1 to 5, but whatever. The last library is perfect for you because their clientele tends to get the kind of music that you make from them frequently. So how do you know which libraries do what? Well, that's where the research comes in. And sometimes libraries, they're not bad, evil people. I've never met a library owner, nor have I ever heard about one from a taxi member that tried to rip anybody off. But there are probably some that might be a little guilty of FOMO. They don't really need that particular track. They don't really have clients that would use it. It's really good. Someday somebody might ask me for it. 10 years down the road, gosh, I'd be so envious if one of my competitors got it. So sure, I'd love to offer you a deal on that. But they're not really right library for it, and it's going to sit in there for a very long time. So I don't know that I would do that deal either. So the thing is, yes, you can do that research and you can pitch to them, but you have to know how to write a really good, short, very succinct email. You need to know how to present yourself. Probably wouldn't hurt to have a good knowledge of the sync world vocabulary. All these little things, nuances that go into getting somebody to say, sure, please send me your music, and then ultimately get them to sign it. Why wouldn't you just use Taxi? Because we've already established those relationships. Some of these relationships go back literally 30, 32, 33 years that these companies have been coming to us. Why do they come to us? Because we send them what they need right now, and it's been curated, filtered, quality assurance, baby. That's what we do. They know when they get a file of music from Taxi that it's going to be stylistically on target for what they need, and the quality is going to be there. So yes, you can do it yourself, or you could spend 100% of your time creating the music for the opportunities that are specific and targeted that we bring to you. There's my sales pitch for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. Gregory Finch, how can I leverage Taxi's feedback on my submissions to refine my production process and increase my chances of getting forwarded to sync opportunities? Your question answers the question. Again, if you go to taxi.com/transmitter, I think, our newsletter, the new one just came out like a week ago, and you look at the success stories, or just go to taxi.com and look at, click on the yellow button in the lower right quadrant of the homepage, and you will see more success stories. And you will see time and time again where people say, and I just want to thank your screeners. Listening to them and incorporating their suggestions has made me good enough today and my music usable enough today that I was able to get a deal, and now I've got a career in the sync music industry because of what I learned from your screeners and people on the forums and people at the road rally. So it's all that stuff. But that's how you leverage the feedback. You know what? Best advice I can give you. Look for 2 or 3 or 4 instances of the screeners giving you the same general feedback. If they're all telling you your vocals are a little bit pitchy, they're not telling you that to break your heart or be a jerk to you or beat you down. They're telling you that because they want you to win. They want you to be successful, and they're telling you that honestly. They're just not going to sugarcoat it. They're not going to be mean about it either. So if multiple people are telling you the same thing, it's probably credible. Should you listen to the very first person? Well, if you read that comment and go, oh, gosh, she's right. That screener totally noticed something I didn't, go ahead and fix that problem. But if you don't instantly jive with what there is, a jibe or jive, whatever. If you don't instantly agree with the screener, wait to get feedback from other screeners and look for commonalities. And those are the things that you should act on. So there you go. Here are 2 people that I circled that are kind of in the same ballpark in their questions. So I'm going to read you both questions and then give, maybe I'll answer them separately. I don't know. But there's one link that I'm going to have Liz give you in a couple minutes, or a couple links that would be really good things for you to watch in regard to these questions. First one is from Saul Fromich. What specific song structures or arrangement techniques, such as build-ups, breakdowns, or instrumental stems, do music supervisors prioritize for sync placements in TV shows, commercials, or trailers? Well, first of all, TV shows, commercials, and trailers oftentimes have little nuancy things that make what they need different. Trailers, longer pieces of music, 3-act trailer. As a matter of fact, Liz, if you could dig up in a couple of minutes, dig up one of our things on trailers. I think I just did one recently. Not sure. You know what it was? It was in the May issue of the Taxi Transmitter. I believe that there are 2 videos in there about trailers. That would be good to post the links to those. Anyway, so TV show music is often different from what they need for a commercial. Now, you could have a song about "It's Going to Be a Great Day" that'd be great for a TV show where a kid wakes up and all excited about going on a camping trip with his best buddies. It's going to be a great day. Could work for that, right? It's going to be a great day could work for a TV commercial about going on a vacation somewhere wonderful. Or hanging your sheets on the clothesline in the backyard with the breeze flapping and the sun shining and the birds tweeting. It's going to be a great day. Or it could be used in an ironic way, with a little twist for a trailer that starts out showing the character in the first act of the trailer. It's going to be a great day. And then things turn dark and ominous and dangerous. So something could be used for all those things, but if I were putting money on this bet, I would say that there are distinct differences between TV shows, commercials, and trailers as far as the structures, the arrangements, the build-ups, the breakdowns, all that stuff, and stems. So as a follow-on to that, I'm going to read a question from a gentleman named Brewster Borisak. Taxi emphasizes the importance of stems and alt mixes for sync placements. Can you share practical tips on creating effective stems, cut downs, for example, 15-second, 30, 60-second cut downs, and stinger endings that music supervisors find most usable? More often than not, when you're talking about cut downs, more often than not entirely, probably going to be a TV editor placing the music, maybe a little bit more so than a music supervisor. So both of these questions relate to a video that we've got on YouTube. Edit points, buttons / stinger endings, and developmental arcs explained. And Liz is going to put that one up for you in a second. Edit points, button, stinger endings, and developmental arcs explained. And then another one where I had a famous Taxi member named Greg Carrozza, who's become a really good friend of mine over the years, making stems and alt mixes with Greg Carrozza. And I see that Liz has that one already posted up there. So the bottom line is, if you watch these videos, you will learn so much. I don't have time to go into the depth that we did, and frankly, Carrozza does such a great job of explaining his stuff that, just watch the videos. We make them and put them up there for you guys. People swear by these videos. You just got to watch them. This one's from Leslie Anderson Lee. What genres or subgenres are currently in high demand for sync licensing? Wouldn't you like to know, Leslie? And how can I adapt my production style to align with those trends without losing my unique sound? That's a couple of questions in there. Let's start with genres and subgenres. Okay. I just did an article that came out in the most recent Taxi newsletter. I think it came out around the 28th of June, somewhere around there. And the article is called "The Instrumental Music Genres That Get the Most Sync Placements." And I want you to know that I spent an entire day on a weekend researching that stuff And I'm very proud of what we posted in the newsletter. I think it's a highly informative article, and I will tell you that the one thing I learned is there is no easy answer. I can tell you that hip-hop, but in all of its forms, gets used a lot. You know what? Music that sounds current gets used a lot. Because we live in today, and current means today, right? Or contemporary means now. So in most TV shows, they take place today. Sure, you can think of examples where the shows don't take place today. There are exceptions to everything, but most take place today. Most movies, I would say 50, 60, 70% of movies take place current, right? So they're looking for whatever kind of music is the soundtrack to contemporary life. If something is taking place, on the rough and tumble streets of an urban city, hip-hop would probably be a good choice. If something is taking place on a beautiful, idyllic day on a farm with the breeze blowing, hanging the sheets on the clothesline, that's going to be something different. So the bottom line is there is no easy answer. And people want to know this answer because they figure, well, why should I bother doing all these other genres if I could just do the ones that are most popular and most frequently asked for? And that's pretty good logic. I agree with that logic to a pretty fair extent. However, just know that you will not be the first kid on the block to produce that kind of music, nor will you be the first person to pitch it to a library, nor will you be the first person in the library in that genre. So you might want to zig when everybody else is zagging. It's funny, I just did a guest lecture the other night when I was out of town for a class on the other side of the world, and I was talking about this very thing. I like people who zig when everybody else is zagging. If everybody else is doing tension cues, guess what? Every library in the world probably has between 50 and 100 or more tension cues in their catalog. So you could write a great tension cue and they could say, I love it. I'm putting that in my catalog. And now you've got a TV editor at 10 o'clock at night sitting in an edit bay and they look for tension cues and there are 100 choices in there. However, if they look for tension cues with Arabic flavor or Middle Eastern flavor, there are probably only going to be 2 or 3 in that little subgenre. And guess what? You could be all 3 of those. So it may not get requested as often as the other stuff, but the competition is practically nil. So I once asked Matt Hurt, who was probably our first highly successful taxi member, first guy to break the 6-figure mark, and he became an inspiration to all other generations of taxi members. And I remember interviewing him at his house probably 3 years before COVID. That's how I date stuff now. And I asked him, I said, what's the secret to your success? And he said, I don't do what everybody else does. And a lot of what he does is mastering foreign genres. So he may not be really good at playing the oud or ouds. I think somebody said, Peter said, dude with an oud. There you go. Anyway, Matt knows his limitations. So if he can't play an oud and he wants a real one, an organic one in his track, he's going to find somebody by going on the taxi forum or a connection he made at the road rally or however he does it. And he's going to find somebody that could overdub that oud in a very believable, authentic, and wonderful way. And so while nobody else is pitching to that particular taxi listing because nobody else knows an oud player, Matt Hurt pitched, got the deal, and then the library said, can you make me 9 or 10 other tracks that also sound Middle Eastern? So that's what you want to do. So there's the answer to that one, I think. How can I adapt my production style to align with those trends without losing my unique sound? Experimentation. And you know what? Use your fellow members on the Taxi forum at forums.taxi.com and ask them, does this sound like that genre? I'm trying to think. I'm sorry, I'm not coming up with a great answer for you. You don't really adapt your production style. You either do a genre or you don't. You can't take, if you're a singer-songwriter and your stuff is, strummy, heartfelt, I love you songs, how do you adapt that to hip-hop? I mean, yeah, you could write a hip-hop song about loving somebody, but it's not going to be a strummy acoustic. I don't have a great answer for that one, I have to admit. It'll come to me tonight about 2:15 a.m. This one is from, but again, I remind you, go check out that link that Liz put in there. Taxi Transmitter about the instrumental music genres that get the most syncs. I'm really very proud of the information in that article. It's definitely worth a read. This question is from Sandra Woodruff. How can I better interpret and respond to sync licensing briefs to increase my chances of getting placements, especially when they're vague or open-ended? I always laugh. Somebody about 2 weeks ago emailed me a brief they got from a supervisor, and it literally said, looking for great up-tempo songs. That's what normal briefs often look like. It might even say looking for great up-tempo rock songs. Do you want a male vocal, female vocal? Does it matter? Do you want vocals at all? What kind of rock do you want? Do you want hard rock? Do you want pop rock? Do you want metal? Do you want stripper rock? Do you want sports rock? All that stuff. So, yeah, there are a lot of vague briefs out there. And frankly, if I could wag my finger at the music supervisor community, that would be the thing I would wag my finger most fervently about, is the fact that the briefs that I see are just like, holy crap, did you put any thought into this? And sometimes you ask supervisors for references, and the reference they give you doesn't even match the brief. So that's a problem as well. So that's what we do. That's part of what we do at Taxis. We sort that stuff out for you before you see the taxi listing. So just know that we've given it our best effort to give you the most comprehensive and accurate information as to what is really needed. Because if you, even some of the stuff that we get from library owners is not all that clear, and we call them up and say, so are you looking for stuff that's more like the reference that you gave us, or are you looking for stuff in the genre that you said it was in, but the two don't really match? So which is it? And they go, oh crap, I'm so glad you caught that, thank you. Yeah, I want stuff that's more like the reference. Oh, okay, so it's not sports rock, it's actually closer to like stripper rock, which is, asking for a friend, what you might hear in a club with people dancing on those metal pole things. So it's a genre. It really is a genre. Here's one, asked to withhold name. That's a long one. Given the 2025 trend toward mood-based music categorization, for example, hopeful inspiration or cinematic suspense over strict genres like rock or pop or disco or whatever, how can I structure my tracks to align with these emotional use cases while ensuring they meet Taxi's sync licensing briefs? Well, the best way to ensure that they meet the brief is just don't create music beforehand and then try and cram that square peg into the round hole, which is the brief. You'd be much better off reading the brief and going, all right, what do I need to create music that fits that brief? And I think we've got, maybe I missed that one. Best thing you can do to hit the nail on the head with the brief is read it 3 or 4 or 5 times. I know our most successful members frequently tell me that they read the briefs, the taxi listings, multiple times. And they may make a little side list, like a little bullet point list of some of the attributes. So, yeah, if I were writing hopeful inspiration, how do you align with these emotional use cases? Well, if you're writing hopeful inspiration music, it probably wouldn't have a lot of minor chords, a lot of minor sevenths in it. So avoid those. Use major chords. Use arpeggios of major chords. Use a gentle touch on the guitar. There's so many, it's hard to say hopeful inspiration. It's wide and it's broad, but what it isn't is a minor chord or a minor seventh. It's not depressing. It's not sad. It's not dark. So there you go. Hopeful and inspirational. Feels good. It's uplifting. Cinematic suspense. Well, suspense would have some minors and would be kind of dark and would be a little scary sounding. Now, to make it cinematic, what might you hear in a movie? Big, expansive track with strings and horns and hall reverb. Cinematic is fairly broad, but cinematic could also be you take Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones, have a female sing it, slow it way down. Didn't somebody do this? Slow it way down and make it very breathy like this right up on the microphone. And nothing more than an acoustic guitar. And then steep that breathy female vocal, which is, anathema to the male vocal sung by... what's his name? Who's that guy in the Rolling Stones? Mick Jagger. It'd be anathema to that. It'd be opposite of that. So rather than making it punchy and rock and rolly, make it breathy, and then put maybe a 100 millisecond loopy delay on it with not a lot of level on the delay, but a little bit, just a hint, and a nice 4-second rich reverb sound, and all of a sudden it's going to sound cinematic. So there are different kinds. The word cinematic in the last several years has taken on different meanings. Okay, so that's one last one. This one is from Roy Van Cleve. What's the most common mistake you see songwriters and composers make when submitting music to Taxi, and how can I avoid it? That's one of my favorite questions to answer. And the most common mistake by far is people not reading the briefs. You would be shocked. Oftentimes, we run a listing for instrumentals, and maybe 15% of the music that comes in has vocals. And it says instrumental 4 times in the listing, in bold, in all caps. And they still send in songs with vocals. And then if we email them or call them, they're like, oh, crap, how did I miss that? I do not know. So most common mistake is not reading the listings carefully and thoroughly. An adjunct that I just mentioned is putting a square peg in a round hole because you just so badly want to win the prize for that brief, that listing. And then sending in music that just doesn't match because it's just so damn good. I'm sure if they hear it, they're going to love it, and they just won't give a damn about what they really truly need because they're going to hear my song and love it. So there you go. That's all the questions that I had on paper. Anybody want to join in, ask me some questions? All I ask is that you type the word question in all caps so it's easy for me to spot as it flies by in the chat room. Hope you're enjoying today's show. I had a couple of ideas for doing next week's show, and then I lost them. I wrote them down the other night on an airplane at like 3 o'clock in the morning on a piece of paper and shoved it somewhere in my backpack. And I tore that backpack apart yesterday looking for those ideas. Can't find it. So if you guys, after this show is over, not now in the chat because it will distract me, but please go into the comments. First of all, did you guys give us a thumbs up? I hope so. And then go into the comments and just give me some ideas on topics you'd like for next week's show. And try not to make it something that could be done in 5 minutes. I need stuff that can turn into a 90-minute show because I just like doing the 90-minute format. What can I say? Okay, here's a question from Douglas Ricketts. Hey, Doug, how are you? Question, or should I say Douglas? I should be respectful. I don't like when people call me, hey, Mike. Michael. What genre seems to be done like no one ever needs it? I don't think such a genre exists, but here's a funny story. And that is Happy Clappy. Ukulele, hand claps, probably a celeste or something with bell-like tones, maybe an acoustic guitar thrown in there. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Those tracks permeated the industry, both in TV shows, a lot of reality shows and TV commercials, to the point where everybody in the world was gagging whenever they heard a happy clappy track. And I would say that's as close to me ever seeing a particular genre. It's like, we've had enough of that. We can't stand it anymore. We don't want it anymore. And they quit using it. And I just got a call from a good friend of mine who owns most of the music libraries that we deal with. The owners are friends of mine, and this guy is running a happy clappy request with us. And when I was out of town, I emailed him or called him, whatever, and said, happy clappy? Come on, that one was DOA 5 years ago. People put a wooden stake through its heart. They wanted it done and over with. Why? And he said, I don't know how else to tell you this, he said, but I've got an album of happy clappy stuff in my catalog, and it gets licensed all the time. So I want to make a second album of that stuff. Can you find me some? I said, oh, yeah, definitely. So we've got a happy clappy listing running right now. All right, next question. This one's Martin Gravel is bumping one. Interesting question from Greg Trammell. Hey, Michael, I have my catalog on Source Audio. They are wanting me to hand it to them for info for a bit AI company. Is this cool? I wouldn't do it. That's just my own personal feeling. Ask your fellow members on the forum about that one, because my perspective is going to be different than other musicians. I remember there were a couple of the big, anybody will do anything for a check. You might get a $35 check. They might be getting a $35,000 check, or maybe a $300,000 check. You don't know. I don't think anybody will ever know, but at least they're asking, would you like to be included in what I call, and it's inappropriate, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's an old phrase that's used a lot in computer programming, a rape and scrape, where they go in and they program a bot to just go in and listen and listen and listen and listen and digitize everything and analyze it, blah, blah, blah. At least now they're asking, do you want to be included in that? And I'm assuming they'll say, okay, and you get a little, cash prize for doing it. Whereas other companies have given blanket permission for Suno or Udio or somebody to come in and do a rape and scrape on their entire thing and then send everybody a check. I don't think they gave people the ability to accept or decline. Let's see, questions. Oh, so does the stinger go on everything? Full vocal songs, for instance? Yeah. Fades were invented to let the DJs on radio stations talk over the end of the song. Don't forget to go to the Billy Joel concert this week at the Staples Center. Nobody needs them anymore. And quite frankly, how can you edit if you want to time laying that song into a scene and have the song end when the scene ends and there's a hard cut to the next scene? How do you do that with a fade? You can't. So the answer is yes. 99.5% of the time in the TV and film industry, the music should have a button or stinger ending. That was a good question. Great episode you did with Bellagio. Now, I think you mean Biagio. Having dinner with him on Tuesday of next week. He's become a very, very close friend. And he's a great guy. He's so smart. Yeah, Edmund Red made this comment. I just heard about this about a week ago as well. Sorry, I'm sitting here. My skin is falling off my face, apparently. I got a little too much sun. Edmund says, lately a library I'm signed with, owner's been on Taxi TV several times, asked us to remove all of our tracks from SoundCloud because SoundCloud had given permission to some AI companies in order to learn. It's sad. But at least it's good that the libraries are telling us. Yeah, SoundCloud, and this is not my opinion, it's what I've seen. I obsessively read about music industry related stuff, as I should, being that I own a company. And boy, oh boy, I had no idea. It's like all of a sudden SoundCloud just made a big boo-boo and got a bad rap very quickly. And here's Douglas Ricketts saying, SoundCloud supposedly fixed that, but I don't buy their excuse, so I'm staying away from using them. Here's a question from Jeff Watts. Should we put an email as an added line in metadata? Absolutely. Email, phone number, and you know what? If you see your phone ring and you don't know that number, answer it. I can't tell you. Literally, gosh, I would imagine that probably hundreds of opportunities have been blown by Taxi members. I just had one 2 months ago, or 3 months ago. A woman said, oh, yeah, I didn't know if I should call the library back, or I didn't know if they were real or whatever. No. If you get a forward from Taxi, know that we have heavily vetted the companies. They're all legit. They're all great people to work with, frankly. Nobody is harming anybody or hurting anybody or ripping anybody off. These are all real live industry pros with very long histories and careers and people that you want to be signed with. That's another benefit of being a Taxi member, is that we've done that work for you rather than you spending your creative time doing that research. And people have said to me when I call them, it's like, why? The library owner just called me, like over the weekend and said, I can't believe I've reached out to this lady 3 times and she hasn't gotten back to me. And her answer was something like, oh, I don't know anybody in the 818 area code or something like that. It's like, no. Answer the phone, answer the emails, check your spam folder once a day for 10 seconds. We just had one the other day. When I was out of town, I saw some communication going on between the Taxi staff and a very highly admired music library owner saying, I keep reaching out to this person, can't get in touch with him, her, whatever. And yeah, the first email went to the spam folder, and then they just didn't see the second one. It's like, this is what you want. And the difference between you getting what you want and starting a career or enhancing an existing career or not is because you can't just click on your spam folder once a day for a second to see if there's something in there that might be from a music library. Come on. Let's adjust that. Oh, come on. Oh, eco kicked in. I wish I could figure out how to get this eco thing killed. All thermostats. Take off eco. Cool set to 65. Let's make it frigid. Okay. 7 minutes left. I'm looking. Anything else? Did I answer every question in the world? Are we done? I want to remind you guys, give us a like. If you like the quality of what you get on the show, people are constantly commenting, I should say, maybe complimenting, how much they've learned by watching Taxi TV over many, many years. And yet we get very few thumbs up. So give us a little love, will you? Will Hick-Hop be a genre? You mentioned before, I think it's dope. Yeah, we've run listings. It's funny, I would call it Hick-Hop in a heartbeat. I think a member of the staff, maybe a couple of them, thought it was derogatory to say it that way. I don't believe that is derogatory at all, but we have a difference of opinion. So it may say something like country with a hip-hop influence rather than just flat out calling it Hick-Hop. Hick-Hop. It's hard to enunciate, I'll give you that. Um, Yeah, Peter Rahill is saying, yeah, if you see a number you don't recognize, just type in the area code, the phone number, and type in phishing, scam, phishing with PH. And I do that routinely as well because we all get so much crap in our inboxes and our phones. Marion Laird says she always likes these episodes. Thank you, Marion. And you're always here for them, with rare exception. Jesse J. Peck. Hey, Jesse, how are you? No matter what you've listed through your website, you need taxi. They'll show you the way. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Ray Hill just gave us the 41st like. Yes, that helps. Only 41 likes? Come on. Alan Hall, this has been a great big brain load of info. Thanks, ML. Make it a recurring theme, please. What, doing the Ask Michael Anythings? It's funny. These are so easy for me to do. I don't have to do any prep work for them. So I love doing these episodes. It's just how many times can I put the subject line in emails? Join Michael for another episode of Ask Michael Anything. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to mess up your name. Chinche? Thank you, Michael, for your time. Everybody's saying thank you. Aw, we love asking you questions. Well, I love answering your questions. First of all, most of the time I come up with pretty good answers if I could pat myself on the back a little because I've answered these things a lot. I've been around the company for 33 years, and we've been doing Taxi TV, I believe, for about 15 years now. So I'm thrilled that I've got good answers. You know what? Over the weekend, I was on TikTok, I believe. Now you know what? If you're on TikTok, I personally don't spend a lot of time on TikTok other than paying attention to the fact that we started a TikTok channel and we've gone, I don't know, like from 100 followers to almost 1,000 or something in 2.5 months, whatever. We're still little, but we're growing. And we get a lot of attention because it's funny, tiny little audience, but very loyal audience, apparently. And I was looking at, and this woman kept popping up in my feed going, I've been doing sync for 7 years. And basically, I'm seeing a lot of these people out there that are charging for the same stuff I'm giving away. Matt Hurt and I were talking about this. I was at Matt's house in Idaho probably a month or so ago. And he and I were talking, I guess a couple months ago already. And it's like both of us are giving away information that other people are charging you more money than it costs to join Taxi. But with Taxi, you get 2 years, 2 tickets to a world-class convention that people absolutely love and swear by. You get a full year of Taxi's opportunities. You get a full year of not having to do all that research to find the right briefs and opportunities for your music, your style. And these people, one of them I know for a fact is somebody that has just watched a bunch of Taxi TV and just regurgitates the information and charges people for it. So watch out for that stuff. Please, no AI. Yeah, it's a big topic. I've been using AI for stuff other than music because I'm not a writer, retired producer, but definitely not from the AI era. I wrote up I was showing I have a friend who packages financials for venture capital pitches. And he was like, AI, bad. He's roughly my age. So I sat down with him on a Sunday at our dining room table. And I said, let's take an idea I've got for a business and flesh it out. Let's do a business model analysis using AI. He was so blown away by the questions it was asking me and by the end result of what we got. through doing this business analysis, which, by the way, turned out to be a $389 million a year company after 5 years of growth. And then what I did was I took that entire resultant document from ChatGPT and I dumped it into Grok and asked Grok to analyze what ChatGPT did. And then I took that result and put it back into ChatGPT and said, can you refine this or improve it in any way, shape, or form? So in the end, what I got was really good. Did I have to go in and tweak a few things and clean it up? Yeah. But $389 million company. There you go. All right. Question unrelated to taxi. Is there a list of all the music you've engineered over the years? I want to make a playlist. You know, all music guide stuff like that. You can search me, but I look at it and I go, oh, well, they didn't include the time I worked with Bob Marley and the Wailers for 3 days. They didn't include the time I worked with, I can't remember, a band like 38 Special for like a week because a friend of mine was sick and I covered for him. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get mentioned. But, the first Firefall album, the first time I was ever an assistant engineer on a project that I got a credit for, and it went gold and then eventually platinum. So I was very, very happy. I really liked that band. Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young on a record that never came out as the four of them, came out as Stills, Young, Long May You Run. My Name is Misspelled. A bunch of stuff with Eric Clapton that never made it to any records. Sometimes it was Eric playing and producing on other artists that he brought in that he was trying to get signed, but I became very friendly with him. Used to go to his house a lot, and I don't know who else, but they were out there. Just search my name. There's a band called the Reds from Philly, another band from, I want to say, the UK or Australia. I think the UK that I did for, I don't know, Warner Brothers or Polygram. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there, and as any engineer producer will tell you, it's a lot of stuff you work on that you don't get credited for because you do 3 days here or a week there, or the band's on the road and they're doing a concert in your town this weekend, and Monday morning they want to come in and do a vocal and a mix, and you do it and they blow out of town and you don't end up on the record. So there's a lot of that. Anyway, we're over on time because I'm chatty and I'm jet lagged, and I get very chatty when I'm tired and jet lagged. Thanks for all the good advice, Michael and friends. But rape and scrape gonna hang with me. Bah. Yeah, that's friends of mine who are coders used to use that all the time. All right, see you guys next week. Please go to the comments and drop some comments in there for ideas for the show. And don't forget the road rally. I'm starting to work on the schedule and the speakers and all that stuff. Last year was definitely the best road rally we ever put on. Everybody who's like a road rally veteran said, this was the one. I've got to beat that this year, and I plan on doing that very thing. So I will see you next week, and we'll let you know what is going to be the topic for next week's show. With that, I bid you a fond farewell till next Monday. Good to be back. Good to see you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. What was that? Keith LeBrun, ladies and gentlemen.